These burgers are almost ready.
Great, the kids are starving, and the potato salad is a hit.
The warm glow of the summer sun bathed the backyard in a golden hue, its rays dancing off the grill as John flipped burgers, surrounded by laughter and chatter. The scent of sizzling meat mixed with the fragrance of freshly cut grass, creating a familiar, comforting atmosphere. It was a perfect day for a family barbecue. His wife, Emma, stood beside him, handing out plates and refilling drinks, her smile radiating a warmth that seemed to light up the entire yard. Children ran around, playing games, while uncles, aunts, and cousins exchanged stories over cold beers. John felt a deep sense of pride as he looked around, appreciating the life he had built. The house was full of love, his family gathered together, and everything seemed to be in perfect harmony. But beneath the surface, something shifted. John couldn't quite place it. An odd feeling gnawed at him, a subtle unease that lurked at the edges of his mind. It was nothing overt, nothing obvious, just a quiet sense that something wasn't right. As the evening wore on, he couldn't shake the sensation that today, the seemingly perfect day, would be the one that changed everything. And he couldn't have been more right. John's unease deepened as the afternoon sun began to dip lower, casting long shadows across the yard. His attention was pulled between the laughter of his children and the occasional glance at his wife, Emma, who had become unusually absorbed in her phone. At first, he told himself it was nothing, a quick text to a friend, maybe, or a social media update. But when she smiled at the screen in a way that was too private, too intimate, a chill ran down his spine. He shifted his position by the grill, pretending not to notice, but the feeling in his gut grew stronger. Why was she acting like this? Emma had always been the center of the party, the life of every gathering. Today, she seemed different, distant, distracted. And then, as if to confirm his suspicions, he saw it. A man, standing at the far end of the yard, was talking to Emma. He was younger, strikingly good-looking, with a smile that seemed too practiced. He leaned in a little too close as they spoke, their laughter a little too easy, too carefree. John's stomach twisted as he caught the glimmer in Emma's eyes, something he hadn't seen in a long time. His heart began to race. Was this the same Emma he had married? The woman who once looked at him with that same spark? The one who used to be so devoted to their family? The man touched her arm. Too familiar, too intimate. And suddenly, the world around John felt like it was closing in. He excused himself in the grill, walking toward them with a mix of dread and anger flooding his veins. What was going on? It was a question that would haunt him for the rest of the day. John walked away from Emma, his heart pounding in his chest, his thoughts chaotic and wild. The weight of her words, "I've been having an affair with Chris for the past 6 months," hung in the air like a suffocating fog. As he stepped outside, the familiar sounds of the barbecue seemed distant, surreal, like a scene from someone else's life. His family, his friends, laughing and eating, oblivious to the storm tearing through him. How could she do this? The questions ricocheted in his mind as he walked to the edge of the backyard, his hands trembling. The fire pit in the corner, still glowing softly, seemed to mock him. His anger surged like a tidal wave, rising higher with each breath. But as much as he wanted to scream, to confront Emma in front of everyone, he knew he needed to take control, to decide what happened next. He found himself at the edge of the yard, facing the old oak tree where the children played just hours ago. The truth was simple, yet devastating. Emma, the woman he loved, had been sleeping with another man. She had betrayed him and their family in the most unforgivable way. John's eyes narrowed as his anger shifted into something colder, more calculated. Revenge. It was the only thing that felt like it might ease the burning fury inside him. He couldn't go back to the barbecue, to that false cheerfulness. Not until he made sure that Emma understood the depth of her betrayal. He was done being the victim. He walked briskly to the garage, his mind already turning over plans. His first instinct was to confront Chris, to make him understand exactly what he had taken from John. But the more John thought about it, the more he realized he didn't want to just expose the affair. He wanted to ruin it. He wanted Chris to feel the humiliation, the shame that had crept into John's own chest. He wanted Emma to see what she had done not just in private, but for everyone to witness. As he picked up his phone, dialing Chris's number with a sense of cold purpose, John knew this would be the moment everything changed. This was no longer about love, about family. It was about power. And John was about to take it back. John's fingers gripped the phone tight as he waited for Chris to answer. His heartbeat thrummed in his ears, the cold anger inside him pushing him forward. When the line clicked and Chris's voice came through, it felt like a spark in the dark. "Hello?" John's voice was low, tight with emotion. "Chris, it's John. We need to talk." For a moment, there was a pause, a hesitation. Then Chris spoke again, his tone wary but confident. "Look, I don't know what this is about, but I know about the affair." John interrupted, his words cutting through the line like a knife. "And I think you know exactly what I mean." Chris's breath caught, a brief, audible shift in the air. "John, No." John's voice was firm now, steady with purpose. "I don't want to hear your excuses. You've crossed a line that can't be undone, and neither of you will get away with it." He took a deep breath, steadying himself before delivering the final blow. "Meet me at the park in 30 minutes. I'm coming to settle this, once and for all. And if you think you can just walk away from this, you're wrong. There's no walking away from this." John hung up before Chris could reply, the weight of the conversation hanging in the air like an impending storm. His pulse was still racing, his mind clear with a cold sense of finality. He knew what he had to do now. The need for revenge was no longer just a thought, it was an instinct, a fire inside him, and he was going to make sure Emma understood the full consequence of what she'd done. With his heart heavy but determined, he walked toward the door. Tonight, everything would change. John drove to the park in silence. The engines hummed a steady rhythm that did nothing to calm the chaos inside him. The weight of his decision hung heavily over him. Was this really the way to handle it? The question flickered in his mind, but he quickly shut out. There was no turning back now. He arrived at the park, the evening air cool against his skin as he stepped out of the car. The vast, empty space seemed to mirror the emptiness inside him. He waited for Chris to show, his hands clenched at his sides, the anticipation gnawing at him. When Chris finally arrived, walking towards him with an air of false confidence, John didn't hesitate. He took one last look at the man who had destroyed everything and let the anger flood through him. There was no fight, no physical confrontation, just the quiet, suffocating weight of the truth. "You've made your choices," John said quietly, his voice steady now. "And I've made mine." Chris stared at him, silent, as if he were waiting for something more, but there was nothing left to say. The damage was done. John didn't wait for him to speak. Without another word, he turned and walked away, the finality of his actions settling in. It wasn't victory. It wasn't justice. It was just a painful end of everything he had once known. And as he walked back to his car, he felt the weight of his own decisions crashing down on him. Months passed, but the echoes of that day never truly left John. The barbecue, the confrontation, the rage that had all led to a painful, irreversible fracture in his life. He and Emma divorced shortly after, each carrying the scars of betrayal. John didn't find solace in revenge, only emptiness. He had burned bridges, exposed the truth, but it didn't heal him. The family, the love he once had, was lost. Sitting alone one evening, John looked at a picture of their happier days, realizing that no amount of retribution could ever bring back what he had truly lost.